All right, what's up, everybody? I hope you guys are doing well. I'm Blitz5, and in front of us, we have the latest patch notes for update 22.2. And as always, it's a tradition on my channel to go through the patch notes here, show you guys what's in this one. So if you're interested in PUBG, there's some exciting things happening. We have the FAMAS, a brand new weapon coming to the battlegrounds. Finally, people have been talking about PUBG hopefully adding this gun for a very long time. Very popular gun in the gaming culture, of course. And then the AUG, which is another famous weapon, is leaving the care package and becoming a world spawn. So if you guys want to hear more about that, stick around. We're going to talk about the update, how that's going to affect PUBG, all that stuff and more. But unfortunately, this time around, the test server went live this morning with the patch notes, but it's currently not working on Steam. So when I tried to log in via my PC, I wasn't able to play the test server yet. So I've not been able to test it out. So we're going to check out this video so you guys can see it in person. I've heard a few people talk about it so far that were able to get on before the server went down. So we'll see that information a little later on. And if I have a chance to play before this video goes live, I'll throw some footage in there on top of it. Or if not, we'll just have to play it a little bit later. I will be streaming that live over on twitch.tv/Blitz5 and friends as soon as I'm able to get back on the test server. So for people that aren't aware, test server is live today. It is March 8th, 2023. And then the PC live server will be happening next week on March 15th. And then the following week for console on March 23rd, which is a Thursday. So if you're a console player out there like me, we have to wait all the way until March 23rd, Thursday, to play the new update. So let's watch this video. I'm going to lower my webcam here, make it a little bit smaller, and we'll play this video from PUBG that they posted today so you guys can see it. So there's the FAMAS.
Adjustments to old favorites and a few terrain changes to Destin. All this and more as we dive
We're just going to play the very beginning of this. Shout out to PUBG for putting out these videos. Here it is.
A popular new French assault rifle is hitting the battlegrounds. The FAMAS is a 5.56 AR capable of single fire, burst, and full auto. You won't find this new weapon among normal loot, however. So check care packages and other special areas where powerful weapons spawn. We're also giving a couple tried and true ARs some balance adjustments, with the AUG, M416, M16, and the Mutant all receiving a few changes. Check out the patch notes for
all right, so I think that's good information for right now. So you guys were able to see the FAMAS there, which actually has some really funny iron sights. The Beard guys, shout out to Ben from the Beard guys, posted it. I mean, this is really what the gun looks like in real life because it has that really high top portion of the weapon. So the scopes are kind of high in the FAMAS, so the iron sights look a little silly compared to other weapons that we're used to seeing in PUBG. Hopefully I'll have that picture so you guys can see it. And then again, the AUG. But very cool that the FAMAS is coming in because it is just such a famous weapon that's in so many games and really is one of my favorite guns playing like Call of Duty and Rainbow Six and other games throughout my childhood. So I'm definitely happy to see that being added. Before we get into that information, let's just go over some housekeeping. The map rotation, it's changing every month, but PUBG did say, you know, people are still confused about this and dislike the fact that we lose these maps for like a month or 2 months at a time. PUBG did mention that they're going to be trying to change this so players can have a better chance of getting the map that they want to play. I don't think map selection is coming, but a lot of other games on PC that have map rotations or like champion rotations and other games where you play as different characters, a lot of times they do this every 2 weeks. So I'm hoping that PUBG will move this down to every 2 weeks or something like that. But you know, we're not sure, but they're definitely doing something this year. At least they made a reference to it in one of the patch notes. So right now we are going to have Erangel, Miramar, Destin, Tego, and Paramo. So Vikendi is leaving. It's new, but you know, they're rotating maps in and out. They did this with Destin, but unfortunately Vikendi is going. I can't believe they're keeping Miramar over Vikendi, but it's PUBG and they're going to do what they're going to do. So we will move on from there. You get what you get, and that's that. Here's another picture of the FAMAS, just, you know, again, an iconic weapon. And here's the rail sight I was talking about. So when you go to aim down sight, you have this huge rail in front of you. But this won't be an issue because most of the time when you get this great weapon, you'll have some scopes, and you're definitely going to be using a scope on this kind of gun. So this is taking over the AUG, and this is going to be a very high rate of fire with an effective range of 400 meters. So this is going to be a gun that's putting down a lot of fire and also, you know, doing a lot of damage. So this is going to be, it sounds like kind of like the Vector MG3 version of the ARs, where it's just going to be shooting super fast, very accurate, but not a ton of damage, right? Because a 39 damage per shot is not that high. The AUG was previously 42. The M4 was previously 41. So this is actually lower than those guns, but the rate of fire is what's so high here. And we actually have a screenshot. This was some leaked data mining of the FAMAS and how it works. So it's showing you the base damage and comparing it to the old AUG, which is 42. The rate of fire is going to be just under the P90, 200 more than the old version of the AUG, and just around the MP5 as well. And then also really insane muzzle velocity, right at where the AUG is basically, and more than some of these other weapons. So it's definitely going to be a great weapon for the crate, at least. And I'm very excited to use this thing in PUBG. But you can see the AUG was definitely a monster too. The AUG had great fire rates and also damage, and then also muzzle velocity. If you've used the AUG a lot, you'll know that it was great with like a 4x or 6x scope. It had great range. You could technically use the AUG as kind of a DMR when you received it in the care package. But to compensate this, they obviously have to nerf the AUG because it's becoming a world spawn. So they are removing the damage, or just dropping 1 off the damage. They are lowering the bullet velocity to 890, which is going to also kind of reduce the effective range, but the rate of fire is going slightly up from 700 to 750. And then on top of this, they are also going to be nerfing the M4. They're just increasing the horizontal recoil a little bit and reducing the damage by 1. So overall, these aren't huge nerfs, right? It's just 1 damage nerf, but the M4 is the most popular 5.56 weapon. So this is kind of a big deal because the AUG could come in and replace one of the most popular weapons of all time, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. It's actually a pretty big deal, because since the inception of the game, the M4 has been one of the most popular weapons in the game, if not the most popular weapon, until recently with the barrel and the domination of 7.62. Once the barrel came out, it became very popular, especially in the comp play with how much damage that gun is putting out. The barrel became one of the most popular weapons in the game. So I'm going to show this chart. This is monthly weapon usage rate, and this was from back in September 22, so just about 6 months ago. And you can see the barrel here has the biggest slice of the pie, with the M4 being the second most used gun. But when you calculate the barrel, the AKM, and the ace, they have such a large piece of the pie. It's not half, but it's almost there, when the M4 is the only 5.56 AR to even appear on this list. And you might recall that after the ace was added to all of the maps, there's actually 3 7.62 weapons, the AKM, the barrel, and the ace, 2 of which were added into the game late. When the 5.56 series ARs, you only have the M4 and the SCAR, and then on some maps, the SCAR is replaced with the QBZ or the G36C. So the AUG now will finally bring in a third 5.56 AR, balancing out both ARs. So now 5.56 and 7.62 will both have 3 versions, and then they both have a burst version or single shot version, being the M16 and the Mutant. So now it's kind of balanced out on both sides, which is pretty cool. But what's crazy is instead of leaving the M4 as like the top dog, they're actually bringing in the AUG, which sounds like they're kind of making it like the barrel, where it's going to be strong, but also have a really high rate of fire, just like the barrel. So they're bringing in the AUG to counter the barrel, which could completely change this graph, which is insane. So you're going to have a very popular AUG come in, take up a lot of the pie. The M4 will go down a little bit. The barrel should go down a little bit. And then I'm guessing, you know, we'll have to see. It'd be amazing if they post this a few months into that coming out. And then they've also made some changes to the DMRs over the time. So just something interesting to think about. And on top of that, you don't see the M16 or the Mutant on that list. And those weapons are receiving a buff. And it's just getting a rate per minute of the single or burst rate from 600 to 800. So now these guns are going to be shooting way faster. And what's crazy about this is, at first you might be like, no, that's just a small change, but those guns are those guns are already really powerful. They just don't get used a lot because of their space. They're kind of like the VSS, right? Like they're not really good at long distance. And since they're not auto, you don't want to use them all the time as your main gun because it's not auto, it's not as reliable. But they're still super strong. The MK47 Mutant is a really strong gun, especially if you hit headshots with it. You can basically insta-delete people. And same thing with the VSS. It doesn't get used that often, but for the longest time, I think it was the most powerful world spawn gun in the game from a time to kill perspective. But since it just doesn't get used a lot, it doesn't really pop up on the radar as being OP. So we might have a situation where these guns, if they get into the wrong hands or from players that are really good, you might be getting insta-killed by the Mutant or the M16 going forward. So we'll have to see. But people just don't use them. So at a certain point, you know, PUBG's trying to balance out the game, which is awesome. And they're also listening to community feedback despite what so many people think. So look right here. Here's an example. You know, they're changing the meta. People have been asking for this for a long time, and it never changed. And also players, especially on PC, have been asking for them to change the shotguns, which is more of a PC issue, but it obviously is something that is troublesome in PUBG, especially in a game where you only have one life. Obviously, the Comeback BR changes that a little bit, but I've always said that a shotgun is basically just a close range sniper rifle, but it is a little bit easier to use than a sniper, and it's tough to fight against because it's just a one-shot hit. You're knocked, then you're thirsted, and you're back to the lobby just like that, or you're watching your team. So, and it is pretty noticeable that when you drop in PUBG, there seems to be an abundance of, if that's a word, abundance of shotguns in the game. So they're going to be dropping the spawn rate of shotguns, including ammo, by 30% on every map, which is interesting. And then in rank, they're going to be reducing this by 20%. And then on to the P90. This has been added to care packages and secret rooms in rank. So now coming to ranked mode, in that at least 200 ammunition will spawn together with the P90. So originally I think it was 250, then they nerfed it to 200. So I guess at least 200 is going to appear. And that means that's kind of inferring that there might be more. So I guess we'll just see where that ends up. And then they say here that the heavy stock has been added to the care packages and ranked, which is a small change, but there you go. And then here comes in some of the dev comments, which is basically what I explained before about the AUG and the M4, how they're trying to switch things up. And same thing with the M16, the Mutant, because they're not auto. They don't get used as much. So they're trying to fix that pie, which I showed you before, that chart, that pie graph. And I guess this is a good time. I was trying to figure out when to bring this in. But PUBG is also showing some of the stuff here for their 6-year anniversary. If you guys can see this, I'll try to zoom in a little bit. They are going to be showing the graphics here. This is their new like logo promotion for the 6-year anniversary. And, you know, they've added these billboards in on all of the maps, even on Sanhok now. So this will be around all of the map. And kind of exciting time because the 6-year anniversary is in March of this year. So it's 6 years that PUBG launched on PC, which is really exciting. I think it's around March 17th, around that time. I'd have to Google it again. I forgot to before the video. And then it won't be 6 years on Xbox until December. But something that I've kind of noticed here, I might make a separate video, but I just want to mention it for people that are listening to the patch notes right now, is that I'm kind of seeing a change in PUBG. And there's a few things that this happened in. So PUBG is going through a lot of changes right now. Krafton's going through some changes. They let go of some employees. A video about that on my channel, a longer one if you guys want to hear about that in the video game industry and all that stuff. And in some of their financial documents, they had made mention of they want to become a little bit more nimble with their studios and making quicker changes and stuff like that. And if you guys know, PUBG has always been famously slow to make like quick changes to feedback. They go back and forth about community feedback, making the game survival versus having more weapons in it, making it more of a shooter. They've come out and said contradictory things. You know, they said they want to lower the weapons, then they increase the weapons. They want to make people happy, but then they want to do this. It's been all over the place. But this year, it seems like they even though people say that, you know, game developers and PUBG don't listen to the community, we've already seen a lot of changes coming in that it seems like the community wants, and PUBG being more open to making changes and increasing the loot and giving people what they want. And some of the things they added here, like the shotgun, like changing the M4 meta, is something that people have been talking about for a very long time and just didn't think we were ever going to see a change. And now it's happening. And then on top of that, some of the marketing around the 6-year anniversary is called a new beginning for PUBG. And they were using the beginning, the B in beginning, as a 6. And there's going to be a new dev letter coming soon where they're going to be talking about a lot of the new changes and things that PUBG is working on. And I'm getting a sense that PUBG is kind of going full send because, you know, they definitely have lost their market share with people leaving the game and some big streamers like Choco Taco and other people leaving the game and not coming back to play. So I think we're going to see a really interesting year where PUBG is going to give the community what they want, make these changes. Who knows what other things we're going to see? I don't think we're going to see a PUBG 2, but I think we'll see a lot of changes that, you know, a majority of the community want happening in the game and at a faster pace. Maybe I'm just being a little optimistic. It might be too little too late, but I think this year is going to be an interesting one. I know we've said that almost every year, so it's a little bit of cry wolf at this point, but something seems different about PUBG now because they are making these moves, and it seems like it's just kind of happening now. So we'll see. We'll find out this year if that's right, correct or incorrect. So we will continue on. There's a loot recommendation improvement here. This feature below may be toggled off. The loot feature will now highlight lootable weapon attachments. Okay. Some more stuff. They're trying to make it easier for people to loot and all that jazz. So yeah, I definitely want to hear what you guys think about that in the comments below if you have any opinion about that, what I was talking about before. They've made a change to Destin. I'm not exactly sure what this field is. Sankarna. I can't think about that off the top of my head, but there was an open field and they added a dirt racetrack here, which looks pretty badass. And they showed a little bit of that in the video. A cool location and also just a good spot for cover. They're updating the trophy room in the museum on Erangel and then just changing a little bit of UI, and they're going to have a better representation of weapon stats in the game, which I think is going to be nice because, you know, I don't even really look at this in PUBG anymore. So hopefully this will be like a more useful tool to look at in game. And then here is probably the last big part of the update, where in short, if you guys are familiar with Call of Duty, PUBG is basically bringing in a new system where you can basically prestige your mastery tier. So, you know, as you level up in the game, you hit 500. Most players that have played the game since inception are 500. Almost all my friends, everybody I know is at 500, just from sheer playtime. Now you'll be able to reset that and then get a medal for that. So tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, you could see all the medals up to tier 5. And then you can level from 1 to 500, which is pretty interesting. So let's read a little bit here. It says each time you begin again from level 1 and every time you hit level 499, you can restart, it looks like. So there you go. I know some people on my stream were telling me they wouldn't want to restart at 1, but I guess that's just how it's going to work. And you're going to see a lot of people on the battlegrounds that are good players that are going to be low level doing their mastery tier, right? Re-prestiging or re-leveling up. So it's kind of going to lose a little bit of its purpose because before it was kind of helpful because you would know like, okay, that's a new player or that guy's using an alternate account or something. And now people are just going to be all over the place, which for me, I've never really analyzed people's levels. I never really got that, you know, a player can be amazing and be level 100 or 500. A bad player can be level 500. I don't know why people always kind of clung on to that. So that's kind of gone anyways. Then some new items entering the workshop. These are going to be craftable now. They've always had some really funky / cool things in the workshop. I still have not gotten one of these items because you have to like spend money to kind of get the points to craft this stuff. So I've not done that. To me, I'm more of a sucker for the weapon skins than the actual character outfits, but obviously everyone has their preference. Then this morning, I looked through all the bug fixes. There was actually a lot. So PUBG is, you know, working on, look at all these fixes. But something that I just thought was interesting is like how much time PUBG spends on fixing all of the issues with the outfits. But if you guys are aware, on console, the AED is glitched and doesn't work, and there's no fix for that. So while I am enjoying that the AED is bugged, because I don't like that, it's my least favorite item in the game, the fact that you can self-res yourself after getting knocked. But the fact that that's actually like a major part of the game and it's not fixed in this is kind of strange unless they don't even know the issue. I get it. But there's all these fixes here, but like it just seems like these things, you know, your outfit clipping getting fixed when the AED is not getting fixed is different. I know some of these things are probably really easy for them to fix, so that's why they're doing them, right? Like takes 1 second when the AED and other things are more complicated. And just from my experience talking to PUBG, you know, sometimes they know something's bugged and they actually just don't even know what the issue is yet because they have to test it, replicate it, figure it out. And unfortunately, this AED thing, I think, is only on console. So they're only going to get reports from people on console. It might take them longer to replicate it and figure out what the issue is. So if that's been something that bothered you, it looks like that's still in the game. So again, big meta shift for PUBG. Actually crazy that this is happening after, you know, so many years of the game being where it's at. Never really thought that they would do it like this. If anything, I thought maybe they would, you know, bring the FAMAS in as a third weapon and keep the AUG in the crate. So things are changing, but I did expect eventually that PUBG would bring in a third AR because it just makes sense. PUBG usually does balance things out that way. So I'd love to hear what you guys think down in the comments below. Again, if I can get on a live server, I'll be testing this out. If not, I'll be trying it out possibly when it drops on PC. And then again, of course, I'll be streaming a lot when it drops on console because I'm primarily an Xbox gamer. If you made it this far, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. And as always, I'm Blitz5 and peace out.